welcome. Appreciate everybody showing up today on a Sunday afternoon. Appreciate everyone's interest in our program and what we're doing here through training camp so far. Just finished our second week of training camp. We've had 11 practices of the 29 practices that the NCAA allows us to have. So we're not quite through the halfway point yet. Just under 3 weeks to go for our first game. Right now, I think training camp has been very productive. We've gotten a lot of work done. I think we've improved in all areas on our football team. Some areas we've improved more than others, but I think we have improved in every aspect of our football team through the first couple of weeks and 11 practices that we've been able to evaluate. I really like our football team right now. We talk a lot about these players are like our sons, and we treat them like our sons, and we all love our sons, but sometimes you don't necessarily like being around your son. We really like being around these guys. They have a great attitude. They're committed. They're invested. And we not only love them, but we really like being around them every single day that we get that opportunity here in training camp. And when you can say that about your team, it's a good spot to be in. From an injury standpoint, through the first 11 practices, we have our typical training camp bumps and bruises and things that happen when you play football. But for the most part, we've been relatively healthy other than some of the pre-existing injuries we had before we started with certain individuals. But we've been really healthy from that standpoint. The attitude and effort is there. The want to, the care factor is there from our players. And like I mentioned before, I really like that. We are better fundamentally right now than what we were a year ago. The guys know how to practice. They come up with the same attitude and effort every single day. We don't have to coach that, so we're able to focus on just trying to make these guys better football players here this training camp instead of trying to build toughness and the right type of attitude that we wanted. And our focus here in this training camp wasn't about building toughness. It's about trying to make these guys better, the best football players that they can be. It's a long training camp. It's 5 weeks, and we need to make sure we come out of it with our players mentally and physically fresh, with our team that is healthy and still getting enough reps so they know what they're supposed to do on all 3 phases of the game and in critical situations. But I like the work that we've been able to do so far, and with that, I'll go ahead and open it to questions.
Chris, talking about some areas more improved than others, which areas do you feel like you're most improved from what you've seen in training camp?
I would start with the quarterback position. I think we are improved at the quarterback position. We've got 3 guys that have been getting a lot of reps, and we've been mixing them in with the 1s and the 2s, and I do think we're a lot better at that position. I think at the running back position, it's a deep position when we've added Gus Edwards into the mix. Rob Martin has been limited early on in training camp, but is getting closer and closer to 100%. Got several reps in the scrimmage yesterday. Josh Hicks in the mix, Trey Sneed in the mix, Raheem Blackshear is a freshman. I think it's a pretty deep group. I think it's a very competitive group, and it's a group that will be improved from last season. Defensively, I like our defensive line right now. John Badeke is playing at a very high level. I think John Badeke is a very underrated player that I think going to expect to see big things out of this year. I think linebacker right now we're drastically improved from where we were last year. Those are some of the areas that I feel. And then special teams, not talking about snappers, holders, and kickers and punters. I'm talking about the guys covering kicks. I feel a lot better right now today with who's running down covering kicks and holding guys up than what we had last year.
Chris, have you started to see some separation among the quarterbacks? And Jerry Kills told BTN on Tuesday that he wanted to name a quarterback within about a week or so. We're coming up on that, so how close are you to doing that?
Well, you got the date circled, don't you? We're getting closer to naming a quarterback. We've got 3 weeks to go before we play, and we'd like to do it sooner than later. We'll probably get through this week, keep sorting it out a little bit, and then get ready by the end of this week, first of next week, to go ahead and name a starting quarterback. But we're not going to go all the way up until game week at all. We'll get it done, like I said, either end of this week or early of next week. It's what's right for the players, the quarterback position, and it's what's right for the rest of the team, too, to know who that guy is going to be.
The freshmen, which ones have really jumped out at you through the first 2 weeks?
There's been a lot of them. I'll just talk about the offensive guys to start because that's where we've had the greatest need for young players to come in and contribute right away. Raheem Blackshear, running back, has really stood out. He's going to be a guy that's going to play for us. Bo Melton has stood out. Really, all those wide receivers that we signed last year have stood out. Bo Melton, the Hayek brothers have both stood out. Shameen Jones, Everett Wormley, all of those guys really are going to have a chance to compete for playing time on offense and on special teams here this fall. We're still not in position to determine what freshmen exactly are going to help us. We still have some time to sort through that, but those are the ones that really standing out. Travis Vokalak at tight end is going to be an outstanding tight end. He's got great length. He can run. He's just got to get bigger and stronger, but I really like his football IQ and just the way he works every single day. Micah Clark had missed a little bit of time early in training camp. That last few days he's been back out there, is showing the promise that we expected him to show at an early age, and he'll be a guy that definitely we hope to be in a two deep here by the time we're done with training camp. There's some others offensively too, but those are the ones that are really, standing out defensively. Some of the linebackers are, we call him 03. I don't even attempt to say his name, but 03, a linebacker. He's a guy that's starting to do some good things for us on defense. He's been getting reps in the two deep to be a special teams guy. But a lot of the offensive guys, because they're getting more reps out of need, more so than the guys on defense.
Coach.
Where are you at in deciding captains? Will it be 4 again? Is it a team vote? What's that process
Yeah,
like?
there's no set number. We'd like to have 4, but we could go up as many as 6 if we needed to. But we will have a player vote on captains this Wednesday, and that'll be really about the midpoint of training camp, and have a pretty good idea of who we can count on, who the players trust, and who's dependable, who can be our best leaders, and we'll vote on that. It'll be a player vote that's done on Wednesday night.
Coach, talking about Jerry Kill and how he's come in to augment the offense that you have, particularly in changing the offense to keep the defense on the field, along with having 5 weeks to do it. How's that process going, and how is it going to make this team different this year that you're seeing little by little?
Yeah, it started last spring. The transition in our offense started last spring. We're going to be a lot more multiple on offense, and I think what we're going to do is, with our offense, is do what we need to do to win games. There's going to be times we can speed it up. There's going to be times that we have to slow it down. And we're not just going to be a team that goes fast, and we're not just going to be a team that goes slow. We're going to do what we need to do to have success. And that's not just offensive success, that's defensive success also, because the best defense is the best offense and vice versa. But we're more multiple, so we can use different personnel groupings. We can use our best players. We have contingency plans if injuries occur at certain positions and we don't have guys anymore. And we're going to do what we need to do to manage the game and the clock, so we can play really good defense, because that's our number one plan to win. And we've got to hold on to the football and keep the offense on the field, and that means slow it down. Then that's what we have to do. But Jerry looks at that, and that was why he was such an important hire, is he looks at it from a head coach's standpoint. Hey, what do we need to do to have success? It's not about my stats. It's not about points. We need to have points or score points. We want to have great offensive stats, but at the end of the day, what do we need to do to give ourselves a chance to have success? And that's the way he looks at it, and that's what I wanted in that position.
Two-part question on Janarian. One, how is he coming along as an overall receiver?
How long have we been doing this? 8 minutes, and this is the first question on Janarian. I'm shocked.
That's why it's a two-parter. The second part is the plan to use him offensively. I know you're switching up offensive schemes. Last year, he took some balls out of the backfield, and as a rusher, is that still the plan for him?
Janarian is. When you talk about change up offensive schemes, we're not necessarily changing. We're adding to what we did and diversifying what we did, last year. But Janarian is still going to be one of our top playmakers on our football team, and we're going to use him how we have to use him to have success. I think the thing that is different this year is we're going to probably have some more playmakers around Janarian, where we might not have to ask him to do as much, but he's a dynamic player, and we're going to use him as much as we possibly can, and not put him in harm's way by playing him every snap. But I wish we could get him over at corner too a little bit. But we're going to use him as much as we have to, and he'll be all over the field, both on special teams and on offense.
Coach, I was wondering if you've been able to determine yet what kind of role Damon Mitchell's going to have for your team, and also, are you at liberty to give an update about his brother Amir and his recovery from his knee injury?
We'll start with Doo-Wop. as we call him, Damon Mitchell. Yeah, he's going to have a huge role in our football team. You know, he's been a great addition to our roster as a grad transfer coming in from Arkansas. He's big, he's physical. He's been learning the offense. He's probably a lot better right now today than obviously he was in the spring, and doing some good things. Where it really shows up is on special teams. His history at Arkansas is he was an outstanding special teams player, and in practice he has shown that he's going to do that for us also. So he's going to help us on offense at receiver, and he's going to help us on special teams. I mean, he's a big athletic body, got good football IQ, and excited about what he brings to the table. His brother Amir, as you guys all know, tore his ACL in the spring. His rehab is going great, probably slightly ahead of schedule. Hope to have him back playing sometime in the middle of the season. When that is, I don't know yet. But he is rehabbing, and he is ahead of schedule, and he's out there doing some things right now on the side.
Chris, the quarterback, regarding separation at quarterback, has Kyle maybe separated himself a little bit more? It looked like he handled a little bit more first-team reps yesterday.
No, I can't say that either one of them has separated themselves. It just goes by day. One day one looks like they've separated, and the next day it's someone else. So it's really, this week we really got to find out who's going to be the most consistent and most dependable. They both got strengths, they both got weaknesses, and I shouldn't even say both, all three, because Jonathan Lewis is right there in the mix too, getting a lot of reps. And those of you that have watched Jonathan at practice, the kid's got a bright future. Big, good-looking, strong-armed kid that's got tremendous football IQ, and I'm very, very excited about Jonathan Lewis's future. But all three of those guys, they have strengths, they have weaknesses, they have good days, they have bad days. Right now, they're all three probably putting together more good days than they are bad days. And at the end of the day, it's about who we can trust to go out and protect the football, make good decisions. And we really need to see that this week before we say, hey, this guy or that guy is going to be the starter in game one.
Chris, what are your hopes for attendance by Rutgers fans this season? How much of a difference can that make at your home games?
When you win, they all come. I mean, that's what it is. We at times overcomplicate attendance. We want fans at our games. We want people there to create a tremendous environment. But I also know that a lot of that's determined by the product you have on the field. If I was a college football fan too, I probably wouldn't be paying money to go to a game that it wasn't going to be very competitive. That's just calling it as it is, And we hope to be more competitive. We hope to be winning more games this year. We hope the fans will want to come out and watch us play and watch some of the exciting football that will be played here in the stadium. And, like I mentioned, we're a lot better football team right now today than we were last year at this point. And hopefully that translates into more enthusiasm and excitement once we start games and people get to see that.
Chris, obviously we focused a lot last year publicly on special teams and offense, but defensively, since that's your background and there's like 8 or 9 returning starters, how much room for improvement is there? And do you almost put a little extra on them with the offense undergoing some changes and some youth? Does the defense have to take the lead for this team?
No, we got to be great in all 3 phases. It's not this phase is going to be better and it's okay for the other ones not to be good. I don't look at anything like that. They all 3 have to be operating as good as we possibly can make them. And like I mentioned before, why is Jerry so important? Defense is a product of your offense. Unless you're loaded with tremendous talent and great players, and you just got better personnel than someone else, it's hard to play really good defense if you can't move the sticks. You can't change the field position with special teams, and you're not putting points on the board. You can't do it. And I thought last year, you look at the stats, they're not very good, but we were a better defense than the stats showed. But again, you go through the course of the year when you don't have the depth on defense to rotate guys, but you're not offensively, again, controlling the ball, scoring points, moving the sticks, keeping the defense off the field, you have no chance to play good defense. So our players understand that. And it's no different for the offense. We got to play great defense to our offense and get the ball back for our offense and put them in good field position. The best offense is a good defense. I truly believe that. And both offense and defenses are a reflection of our ability to play special teams too. If we can't set the offense and defense up with good field position because of our special teams play, you're not going to have a chance to be successful. You look at us last year. Starting average field position on offense was one of the worst. Starting average field position on defense was one of the worst. Why is that? Well, it's a combination of all 3 phases. It's not just one phase over the other. It's called complementary football, and we have to be a team that uses our players the right way, and we can complement each other so we can get better in all 3 phases.
Chris, with Kamoko Toure, other than obviously the injury stuff last year, where have you seen him change and develop over the last couple of months?
Well, really, his football IQ and his focus on being a really good football player. Kamoko is one of those guys that's had a lot of talent, and you guys have heard this before. You know, you got to be aware of talented players and talented people at times because you know they want to get by just on their talent alone. And you know, it was probably Kamoko early on in his career as he just was able to get by on his talent alone. And then he, you know, would maybe tend to cruise a little bit or not be as focused as you'd like him to be. Kamoko has really matured. Kamoko is really focused on being a good teammate. He's really focused on being the best player that he can be. He wants to be an all-around good player, an every down player. Early on in his career, he was satisfied with just being a third down guy, go out there and rush the passer. And that'd be great if that's all he did, and he did it well. But we want and need him to be an every down player, and that's what he wants also. And he understands that he's got to be focused to do that. He's really learned the football. He has such a limited football background that his football IQ wasn't really high, but he's learned the game. At least from what I can tell here in this last year, he's learned a lot more about the game. And you know, I just like where he's at right now. He's really, all the way from January to where we are right now, he's worked really hard. He's bigger, he's stronger, more intelligent in terms of football right now, and he's really focused on being the best that he can be.
Coach, I mean, you've been here you're entering your second season here, and when you look back to when you first were introduced and to the point where you are now, what has it been like for you, just these past 18 to 20 months that you've been here, you know, emotionally, just the grind, recruiting, everything, you know, what have things been like for you?
It's been a blur. You know, it's gone by really fast, to be honest with you, because you know, when you start, you know, there's just so much coming at you. You know, again, you mentioned from just coaching players to recruiting to donor relationships, off the field behavior, academics. There's just so much that comes at you, and to be able to get, you know, all your systems in place and get things running the way you want, be able to manage your time the way you need to, it takes a lot of time. You know, and you know, it's been a blur. And honestly, that's just, you know, the way coaches are. You just kind of go and you go, and you wake up one day and you look at the time and say, where did it all go? But I haven't had a lot of time to think about, you know, what we've been able to do and whatever the 18 months that we've been here. But I know it's gone by fast. We've done a lot of things and feel good about what we're doing. But you know, I don't know if that answers your question or not.
Are there times where it's overwhelming at all?
No, I mean it's just football coaching. You know. I don't care if you're an assistant coach or head coach. If you're going to do things the right way, it takes an insane amount of time. And as an assistant coach, you're doing the same thing. You're recruiting, you're developing your players, you're doing things academically with your players, you're doing things to build relationships with the players. So you're always working. And you know, this is not a 9-to-5 job. You know, college football is not a 9-to-5 job. It's not a 6-month job that you do during the season. It's a year-round job, and that's the way you know, most coaches look at it, and that's the way I look at it. And it's no different here than it has been in other places that I've been a part of. It's really maybe a little bit more when you're the head coach versus an assistant coach because there's a few more things you've got to do. But you know, the days are, you know, you get in early, stay late, and you enjoy what you do.
Gus Edwards, was he done the first 2 weeks to kind of stand out? And then how do you keep, with the depth that you have, how do you keep 5 guys happy, content with touches?
Well, you can't keep 5 guys happy if they all want to touch the ball. You know, that's not our job to keep everybody happy. Our job is to go out and move the ball and score points. And if we're worried about keeping everybody happy, that's not going to work. You know, we're worried about putting the best players in position to give ourselves a chance to have success. And right now, through 2 weeks, Gus has shown that he can do that. He's a big back, 230 pounds. He's got great speed. He's got great balance. He's also demonstrated really good ball security. The ball has not been on the ground with Gus, so he's willing in pass protection also, and been a great addition. He's a real serious dude. Loves the game of football, works really hard every single day. There's not one day you have to say, hey, Gus, let's get going, you know. He shows up ready to work every single day, and it's made that room better. It's made our offense better, and I just love having him here. He's a guy on a mission. You know, he came here. He's got one last year. Obviously, he'd like to have a shot at the NFL, and he knows he's got to go out and have a great year to do that. Thanks, Coach. Yep, thank you, guys.